Hey guys, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. Have a look at this rust bucket. No, I'm just joking, it's not too bad. It's done a bit of work. We're going to have a look around underneath it. It's got a couple of things different to what we've seen under some of the other Hiluxes, and a couple of things a bit better and worse than the others. So we're just going to quickly go through a few things. You can see, seriously, there is a bit of surface rust there. Not a big deal, but if that was my vehicle, I'd give it a bit of treatment, you know, a bit of spray this, spray that, clean this, clean that, paint this, paint that. I just want it looking pretty good. We've got an old 2008 120 Prado, and it goes onto all sorts of beaches, Fraser Island, Tassie, West Coast, WA, whatever, and we don't have any rust like that whatsoever. So I don't actually know what people do to vehicles to get that to happen, but it's not a mine vehicle or anything like that. I think it's been doing farm fencing or some sort of fencing business, and that's why. You can see in the paddocks, the grass, you can see all the little in the foam there all the way across, driving through paddocks, and you can see it's up in the radiator as well, which is why this is what I wanted to talk about. They've got some shade cloth up there to help prevent some of that. Let's have a quick look underneath it. You can see there's plenty of rubbish under there and some mozzie. There's a bloody mozzie flying there. He's a day biter. We've got a day biter. Anyway, look at these sticks in the radiator core, right? So this is, and if you look up there, right? I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going to try and get up there a bit more for you. Just, you know, look at that. It's like a bloody bird's nest. That's right. It's like a bird's nest up there. I don't know how well you can see, but it's quite blockaged up there, and that's why jobs we do like the BFE, that's why we recommend the BFE, big front engine job. That's what that stands for, big front engine, not bacon and freaking eggs. So basically, you know, you do the water pump, the belts, the bearings, the timing belt, idle tension, to cam seal and all that. And while you're at it, you got everything out. You reverse flush all the radiator, and we clean as much as we can. Well, you can pull the radiator out, but obviously that's more work, more money. Our workshop's a balance of what's the best thing for clients, if you know what I mean. But if you're doing it yourself, hey, rip the radiator out if you want. Just don't contaminate your auto while you're doing that. And you can see here, I think this was an 09. I think it's done about 250,000 Ks. And you're going to see some typical things, one of them being, see the shockers, so you can see they've got a, well, it's typical of suspension. It's typical of a lot of cars at under 100,000 Ks, but these Toyotas, you can see that sweat there. You know, it's a bit of a leak starting, but let's just have a quick look how awesome condition those bushes are. Just wanted to demonstrate that, right? Even at that age, they're really good. But the problem you got is if you're going off-road with a stock suspension, see where that two little welds, one each side, right? One around there, one around there. They can break, okay? And that upright there, see, it's quite, the whole weight of the vehicle is on that. You know, see this section here, that bit there. The whole weight of the vehicle, which is all right until you do the wrong sort of modification, but that's not going to be in this video. You can see the bash plate's quite sort of bashed in, so obviously it's been out on the paddocks and a few, oops, didn't see that rock there moments, I'd say. I wouldn't say off-road, I'd say more that sort of thing. And plenty of that sort of bird's nest. The birds love that. They grab it and they take it all up into your roof and build birds' nests. Anyway, let's have a look at this boot over this side. For some reason, to me, it looks like the drive shafts. Well, no, this one looks original. That's original shaft, original outer, nice hard, but it may have some little sticks that have gone into it because I can see those traces of grease. That's what you've got to look for. This one we're going to include a few things, roadworthy information, because this guy's just purchased this and he's asked us to do an inspection and have a look what needs to be done, and sort of moving ahead from here, what it needs. And when you go for a roadworthy, they're going to pick on stuff like, they're going to say it needs shockers, it needs ball joints, it needs drive shaft. Depending how fussy they are, it needs ball joints, you know, they're going to sell you some work, right? But see that drive shaft there is beautiful. That, if that's got any sort of leak, and I think there's a few flicks of grease there might be a tiny little hole or a split somewhere, because I can certainly see some grease sort of around there somewhere. Right, I'm not going to let's not get into it too much. We'll spin it around a bit. There you go, could be a little hole there. It is a leak, right? I'm going to give you some info. It's not really worth putting a boot on it, because by the time you pull that whole shaft out, muck around, change boots and seals, genuine kit, 150, 200 bucks, whatever. And then you paint all the labour, and then, look, it probably hasn't been contaminated, but it's done that many cases. It's just time for a new one. So that's the genuine original one. Now over this side, they must have copped something in the boot, and someone's gone and put one of these bodgy boots over it, and you can see what the results are. It does look like the genuine shaft. It's quite messy up there at that side for whatever reason. Some oil leaks, some grease. I don't know what it is at the moment. Let's not worry about that too much. We could be here for a while talking about just that. We've got other things. You see the shocker at this side, the oil stain at the top's only just starting. Now, for roadworthy, you could wash and clean all this up and, you know, then there's nothing to be seen, right? But obviously the work needs to be done. So it's a matter of whether you need to get a roadworthy quickly, what you might do, because to be quite honest, there's no oil leaks, there's no drips. So if you clean all the oil and grease up, it looks to be roadworthy. There's nothing wrong with the upper ball joint or the lower ball joint. The Driveshaft boot is definitely split. It's an aftermarket one. Someone's replaced it with some sort of rubbish at some point. And guess what? That's why it's split, because it's rubbish. Remember the genuine parts. You got the quality Toyota. Keep it Toyota by using the genuine parts is what we do, and it just works, you know. You can see the rack boot, interesting one, because we see a sweat on, we see a lot of Prados and they have a little sweat or a little bit more. And the Hiluxes, some of them seem to be drier than the Prados, and we thought maybe they did the racks better in Thailand or whatever, but this one looks like it's had quite, that's probably, if not one of the worst ones I've seen, that, you know, hasn't got all actually dripping off it, but that's pretty bad. So the solution for this, you 250k, you've picked up a vehicle, hopefully it's cheap. It hasn't been maintained correctly. When I say that, you might have taken in for every 10,000 service and they've changed your oil and changed the tyres and put some brake pads in there, and everything else has been neglected. Now the good news is, and look, it's hit some rocks there too. That's completely bent over. We can't even see that bush there. That's cool. Both sides. The good news is Hilux, and the front as well. Look at that. That's awesome. So it's a bit of a bush basher, we're going to call this, paddock basher. The way to fix this is, it needs suspension definitely. That's long overdue. That's struts. If you're happy with the height, you reuse the springs and you just put actual struts or coilovers, shockers, you know. The dampener you replace, you leave the spring there. If you're spending the money and you're going in there, you're doing the labour and that, you kind of may as well give it a bit of a lift, you know, 30, 40, 50 mil lift, because extra clearance means less of this, right? And most people, after all, have got a Prado or a Hilux because they've got a purpose for it. And if you've got a purpose, I'll tell you that I believe the vehicles from factory, they're a bit low. They can get a lot of stuff done, but you're going to get a lot of this as well, unless you're very careful where you go with it. So it needs a K-on are working on a bash plate. It's going to be the best you can get, I can guarantee you that. Should be available soon. Just stay tuned on the K-on website, kon.com.au. How do I know that? Because I asked for one for our Hilux. So they're working on it. So hopefully everyone likes that. You can hit the like button now if you've got a Hilux and you like that, and you can hit it anyway if you want, and subscribe and turn the bell on. But over here, suspension, I'd be putting new suspension in it. The rack I wouldn't worry about. I haven't checked for play yet, mate. Can you just check for play in these rack ends for me? All good, yeah, no play. That's good to know. What about the front bearings? Any play in those? No play either. So what I would be doing, I'd be changing the front bearings anyway. Why? Because it's done 250,000 Ks. Now, as I've explained in other videos, if you're not going far, you're not traveling, you don't have to do that. You can wait till they play up on you if you like. I've got someone at the moment that was doing some posts on Facebook complaining about a noise. He's up in Queensland. Hope he's watching. He's got a Prado. He's talking about a lot of noise coming from the front. Sounds like, you know, the diff or the engine or the transmission. That'll be the bearings, right? The bearings is what makes the noise. They're a wear and tear item. They're non-serviceable. So I'd be replacing the bearings. I'd be replacing the complete drive shafts, both sides, both bearings, and I'll be putting a lift kit in it. The upper arms, ball joints are no problem. The lower arms, the bushes are probably no problem. I can't see them because we'd need to straighten that out first. So there's a bit of work to be done. Someone could probably spend, look, that's got to be making some metal squeaking sounds there too. Can you imagine that? Definitely, right? So I'll have to send this video to the owner. Same over here. Every time you go over a bump. These ones here, yeah, same as well. So there's a bit of work to be done, okay? And we haven't left the front of the vehicle yet. So we want to clean all this up. We want to put new front wheel bearings. We want to do some rust prevention, protection, cleaning, painting, drive shafts, wheel bearings. Let's have a quick look at the brake pads to see what they're like. What were the brakes like, mate? About half worn, something at the front? Looks
about 70%.
70% still, something like that. So he said 70, so I'll say 55. I reckon he needs to get his eyes checked. He reckons I need to get my eyes checked though, so whatever. something like that. We guarantee they're okay till the next service. So the brakes are okay and they're definitely roadworthy. There's a bit of mess going on here that needs to be cleaned up. Turbo's dry, that's good. Engine mounts look alright. There's no oil leaks on the engine, on the sump, from the diff or anything like that. I don't know that bash plates have got anything to do with roadworthy, but you know, it's kind of sort of insecure there. They could say if something's there, it's got to be secure, but that's the roadworthy testers. It's at their discretion type thing, if you know what I mean, a little bit. Gearbox is dry, so that's good. Let's have a quick wander down. I'm starting to get a sore arm, so I'm going to end the video soon because I'm holding the camera up there. I'm not joking, I'm getting a sore arm. The airbags, look, there's been some airbags, so they've obviously been loading up with some heavy stuff. What were the rear shoes like, mate? Any meat left on those? Plenty of meat left on the rear, so that should be roadworthy. I'm not going to pull the caps off again. That looks like it's got no air in it. I'm not touching it because I'm holding a torch here. Camera in one hand, torch in the other, or light. Oh, this one here, this one's stuffed as well. So, look, we don't like airbags anyway. I'd probably just, but I don't know for roadworthy, if they're there, they've got to be working, or just get rid of them, or whether they'll be roadworthy anyway. The original rear shockers, so they need replacing in my opinion. If you need heavier load springs, then just upgrade to heavier springs. I don't know how much weight they could actually put in there. Just having a look underneath the... Anyway, exhaust is pretty good still. I don't see any issue. I haven't seen any issue yet. Got some water tanks under here as well. Tow bar, of course. Spare tyre. Doesn't have to be any good, I don't think. I think as long as it's there, if it's there, it's got to be secure with the spare tyre. You know, usual wiring schmozzle with everything there. Just having a look around. Fuel tanks looking normal, decent, proper. Any play in any of the uni joints or anything like that? No. No, so that's good. So that's been lubricated lately. That wasn't us though, was it? No. So it has been serviced lately, so that's good. They've lubricated those. Still looks a bit dry on the slip joint. I'd be asking for a bit more grease there, because if it's just been done, see what I mean? Like there's been a kind of a bit of a lack of grease all its life, so I don't know how well it has been serviced, but you can see some fresh flicks up there from this fresh greasing, which makes me think maybe it hasn't been. And yeah, like I said, that slip joint there, you normally see a lot more wetness and lubrication there. Again, a few fresh flicks around this one. So at least they did do the driveline lubrication, whoever you went to. A little bit more grease here. This slip joint still looking at, look, we don't want grease everywhere, but I'd rather see some grease than have it dry. It's obviously a manual, you can see, slave cylinder there. It's all bone dry up there, nothing to see, no oil leaking of anything coming down. So that's my quick 10-minute talk and quick inspection. Mate, you got anything else on your list that I haven't mentioned that's under this vehicle we need to know about? Or sort of drive shafts and that? Don't worry about the lights and stuff like that.
Nothing else under.
That's it. So the underbody, we're pretty well. That's it for roadworthy. I'd say the back of it looks roadworthy. The brakes are good. Everything looks secure without me grabbing it. We're going to spend a bit more time on it anyway. We're going to plug in, check out the injectors and stuff like that. That might all be in another video, because I said I've got a sore arm, holding the arms up. Anyway, so subscribe, turn the bell on and all that, and stay tuned. Sit tight for the next video. Hopefully this has been educational for you. As I said, that's why we do the BFE. That's why we ask Karen to make bash plates. That's where you need your genuine drive shafts and wheel bearings. That's a bada bing, bada boom. I'm Andy. Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.